News for your weekend with Steve Smith on News 4.
Villanova takes it away again. Jim Nance and Billy Packer from the Core State Spectrum in Philadelphia. It's already 7-0 Villanova. Eric Ebers with 5 points. He just hit a 3 on the last trip.
Oh, that's a push by Jamison. Got by with it.
So Tar Heels looking for some points for the first time. 2 minutes and change into this game. Jeff McInnes. Cornegay with a really nice effort on that rebound.
Way up above the rim. Like I said, he's got the body and the physical tools to have big games, but he just hasn't shown it.
Those just joining us, Kerry Kittle's not 100% with a groin pull. That pass, luckily, into the arms of Lawson. It ricocheted off Ebers.
I don't know if I've seen a better entry pass that went off somebody's shoulders down inside. You couldn't have designed it any better.
Foul on Serge Zwicker. 7-0 Villanova. Lawson at the line to shoot 2. He's really on a hot streak right now, Billy.
Well, he's a player probably very much underrated in the national scene, Jim. When you take in consideration what Lawson has done for this ball club last year, great shot blocker, very efficient on the inside, Philadelphia player. You know, a lot of people thought this game would be a setup some time ago with Rasheed Wallace playing against Lawson again. They were both recruited by Villanova. Lawson ended up here. Rasheed Wallace went to North Carolina. And as is Dean Smith's tradition, he always tries to schedule a game in a kid's hometown. So I guess he's got Stackhouse in Philadelphia, but he's not eligible to play here. The problem is he's playing for the 76ers.
And he's here to watch today. In fact, Dean was joking that he would like to be able to bring back Rasheed Wallace for one game because he set this one up as the Wallace home game.
Well, I guess a lot of coaches around the country can talk about what would have been if so-and-so didn't go in the draft early, but certainly Dean Smith would have some team if he had those 2 players still.
What an effort. What a job he's done putting this bunch together. Zwicker on North Carolina's 5th trip. They finally get on the board.
Boy, a young man who's really worked hard to improve his game, was patient. A lot of people don't realize he was a McDonald's High School All-American, but played behind some outstanding players. But is coming on solidly now. About the only size they have in the lineup. Steve Lapis running that sideline. Jim, does anybody get more emphatic than he does on the sideline?
He's into it. McInnes.
Very bad defense by Williams. North Carolina has run backdoor cuts. As long as Dean Smith has been on that sideline, you have to expect it.
Lawson on the blocks, wanting to challenge Zwicker. Carolina with excellent position underneath. All blue jerseys underneath.
Zwicker setting the screen, trying to get open down that low post.
McInnes rattles out. Cornegay has done that a couple of times already. 3 rebounds, in fact.
But Jamison is coming off a 20-rebound game. First freshman ever to do that for the University of North Carolina. But Cornegay's a little bit too strong for him in the early going.
Kittles. Oh, he looked good on that one.
Yes, he did. In the loss to Temple was a game that Kittles got off very slowly. Only had 1 field goal in the first half. And I thought he didn't take it to, although Temple was playing great defense. Let's see tonight how long it is before he just gets going and tries to burn him a little bit offensively.
Carter, ball tipped out. Cornegay. Kittles weighing the options, sets up Ebers. Watch this shot. 3. He made his first one.
Kittle's definitely not as quick as he is normally, Jim.
You can see it.
Yep.
Way out. Calabria, NBA 3.
Last year, Calabria, with the great inside power of Wallace and Stackhouse, never had to take threes like that. Probably shouldn't now. He had so many open looks because of the pressure he had to put on those 2 players.
Carter, 3. And Lawson tracked down the rebound. Kittles pull back. 3.
pretty fast pace for a team like North Carolina that does not have a lot of depth.
Ball knocked loose from Calabria. Cornegay ends up with it. Kittles broke early. Evers on a wing.
Probably should have thrown that ball on the lob to Kittles, but maybe Evers realizes Kittles not up to par to be able to go in the air. That's a solid screen.
Away from the ball. This one going against Lawson. So 9-4. Nova over North Carolina. Tar Heels only 2 out of 9 from the field early. For a moment by McInnes.
Well,
A foul call on Kittles.
A strip and a steal back, but Kittles had the foul to get the steal back. You know, we talk about the zone from North Carolina. It's not that they haven't played zone. I mean, they've played a lot of different kinds of zones over the years, but in their game against Tulane this year, Dean Smith said it was the first time in his 35 years of coaching that he ever started a game playing a zone.
Wow.
So it shows that how he has changed with the times and with the personnel he's got to work with.
McInnes driving on the freshman just inserted into the game for Villanova, John Celestin, who handles the ball now for Villanova.
And here is North Carolina in the zone, and one thing they do very well in this zone is they play the ball and the jump shooter. You'd think in the zone people would have a lot of three-point attempts, but they are very tough on that.
Biggest something he did against North Carolina over in Maui. He came in and hit 5 out of 5 from the field against the Tar Heels.
The fifth, 7-footer recruited by Villanova, and he should be a good one. He's got very good athletic skills for a man his size.
Swicker showing some skill from the outside. He's hit 3 little jumpers, 6 points.
Mental breakdown by Biggest that time. He can't afford to let a post man that's 10 feet away from the basket and try to help out that way. Back to man-to-man. Illegal screen, and it's caught. No basket. Without question, very good call by the official here.
Timmy Higgins saw it. Foul called on Cornegay. Watch him now set the screen on McInnes.
See, Jim, he sets a screen with his upper body, but he's moving his feet at the same time.
We'll be right back.
You don't ever drop your guard here at Daytona. You come here for the speed.
Oh, he's looking to get the ball inside the Lawson. Watch the beautiful way he gets the ball over here off the shoulder of Evers, who wasn't quite ready. The perfect entry pass. And Villanova gets an opportunity to go on the line. Not exactly the way a coach would diagram it, but exactly what you were trying to do on the play.
Cornegay, who started his college career in the ACC at North Carolina State.
You know who he had his biggest game against at NC State, Jim?
UConn.
Connecticut, the team we'll have tomorrow. And I'm sure that Steve Lapis would like him to save a few more of those, because those are going to be some matchups, the Villanova-Connecticut games.
He had 21 against the Huskies back in December of '92. Calabria 3.
Calabria not getting the open look. Nice putback.
Carter muscling underneath with Evers for the rebound, and Evers got him on the back. So Carter to the line for a couple.
Carter averaging just under 8 points a game, Gemma, and I think that this is a young guy that's going to explode. I mean, he was highly recruited by everybody in the country, and has been a little bit slow starting. Had an injury that cut him back a little bit, but got a lot of talent. I think it's just a matter of time till he breaks out with a big game and then continues. North Carolina has one of those stats we always talk about. They're making more free throws than their opponents are shooting. Always a great sign that you're doing good things. They're back to the zone again.
They've made about 20 more free throws than the opponents even attempted this season.
And they're holding their opponents down in shooting percentage, so that means they're playing aggressive. Boy, he's got the great stroke from the outside.
Evers with 8, his second 3 of the game after having made 5 over in Maui against the Heels.
He holds the record for Villanova with 7. So 5 doesn't have to be any magical number for him. So far, Calabria having a rough night shooting.
Biggest doing a good job of following that ball, pulling down the board. So Carolina led briefly at 12-11. Celestin 3-pointer. Cornegay kept it alive. Celestin came off the bench, scored 14 in a win against West Virginia. Evers from the other corner.
Oh, boy. He's one of those guys that doesn't even hit the rim. Perfect arch on his shot. Villanova, Steve Lapis wanting them to go zone, particularly when he sees that Calabria not shooting well.
Evers with 11 of Villanova's 17.
Trying to send Calabria to the corner. Evers aware of him coming over that way.
McInnes. Long rebound like you see so often from an errant three.
Little triangle on the maybe one step beyond what Zwicker would like.
Yeah, he had been perfect up to that point. Now you look at Evers. This is a guy who never even attempted a three in high school. Kittles. And Evers tried to make the save. Evers played center in high school. And they recruited him, but never realized he had any kind of outside shot at all. I mean, what a shock the first time he came to a practice and started firing up shots from right around the arc.
You know what's interesting about that, Jim? A guy that plays center plays his back to the basket, particularly on the high school level a lot. You know, so you wonder where he ever even got the feel for the outside jumper, which you're always facing. And here's that 2-3 zone by Villanova. Steve Lapis probably saying, I want to see somebody can show me they can make a jump shot, because North Carolina's not doing anything in that regard.
Carter, what a move! An explosion underneath.
Did I say he was about ready to break out?
Well, I think he heard you. Shamon Williams had attempted the three. And watch Carter.
Quick to the ball, goes straight up over. Biggest doesn't realize the rim's going to be in the way and gets a piece of it. Carter, one of those guys like we see so often. We'll see one tomorrow, and Ray Allen. They just have the ability to go up at whatever's necessary to make the shot.
6 rebounds for Carter, along with now 4 points.
The fellow that's been quiet so far has been Jamison. He really hadn't gotten up on the boards like we normally see, nor scored.
Jason Lawson has come back in at center for Villanova.
Pretty good D on the ball by McInnes. 5 seconds. Excellent defense by McInnes. And again, I'm going to say, in regard to the defense by North Carolina, they play the ball extremely well, Jim. Even though it's in a zone, there's still a lot of pressure on the ball.
Well, there's a 20-second timeout here called by Villanova. Big Ten standings, Penn State, what a season they're having. The Nittany Lions tomorrow will play Michigan on the road, and we'll have that game here on CBS starting our big day of college basketball. I'll be followed by regional coverage with most of you seeing that Syracuse-UConn game. And then we'll actually bring everyone from Syracuse-UConn to the finish of Missouri-Iowa State. So big day of hoops tomorrow. Shot clock now down to 6.
Trying to set a screen.
Evers.
Big break for Villanova. Ball kick long. Celestin has a hard shot, not a soft shot like Evers, and so consequently it's going to have a real long rebound.
And a push from behind. You know, Billy, before when Celestin looked to be held up for a 5 count, he called the 20-second timeout before the violation. So thus Villanova scores on the inbounds here to go up 19-15.
You know, Jim, talking about Celestin, as I said, on his jump shooting, we've seen 2 now. Both of them came off the rim hard and long. And as a rebounder, an offensive rebounder for his team, you've got to really recognize that.
Zwicker returns for the Heels. Zeffie Penn for Villanova. He's their 6th man, but wasn't the first man off the bench today, which is a bit of an oddity.
Yeah, but he comes off with a lot of experience. You'll probably be pretty sure what he's going to give.
Yeah, does a good job for him, but that time rejected by Zwicker.
Well, he had to take it, though.
8 minutes to go, first half, 19-15 Villanova.
Villanova showing they can put some pressure on the ball in his zone defense.
McInnes
got fouled.
He'll shoot 3. Celestin knocked him to the floor.
There's one of those freshman mistakes. Steve Lapp is pretty aggressive against the referee over there, and he's being told to calm down. He doesn't want to get a technical. His team rolling along pretty well here.
UMass #1 won by 4 today, and Memphis #9 lost by 4.
How about the UMass kids stepping up without Marcus Camby? Great to see that he's out of the hospital, and as far as anybody knows, be able to come back and do all right.
Gary Kittles for Ebers. Maryland beat North Carolina State today.
Boy, NC State, the tough loss to Duke the other night. Chris Collins hitting the big jumper to beat them, and then they lose in overtime today.
Been a long time since Duke had a game like that in the closing seconds go their way.
Yeah, they've been losing a bunch. That would have made them 0-5. Duke and Illinois, two teams that really got started well this year, had a chance to see themselves both without a win in their conferences.
Eric Ebers with 13, and Villanova leads by 2.
Virginia Tech there, Jim, in basketball, just like in football, moved themselves up into that top 10 push. A terrific year.
Here's a guy having a terrific freshman year, Antoine Jamison. We mentioned freshman from Charlotte, who had 20 rebounds in the last outing against Virginia, most since Michael Corrin back in 1979 for North Carolina.
North Carolina starts off a little trap half-court zone trap, and then drops back into their man-to-man.
Howard Brown has come in for Villanova, number 22. Jamison so far in this game has not scored and has 2 rebounds for the Tar Heels.
I said Cornegay was giving him a lot of problems inside with superior strength.
Alvin Williams buries a 3.
Villanova stays right in their zone. And the key is going to be Calabria. He hadn't been able to get off with any jump shots. And I'm sure that Villanova very much aware. He was 4th in the nation last year, percentage-wise from 3. Not getting any looks today. Here he is.
Calabria. This time it drops. He missed his first 3.
And give credit to McGinnis on that. You know, there you've got 2 experienced backcourt players understanding what they need to do to get the other one open. And without question, Jim, we're seeing a different Kerry Kittles than we've seen in the past. You know what?
Not 100%.
Just not quick to the ball. Not trying to take it over when he gets it.
Lawson, baby hook.
Well, Biggest made a half hook over the top of Zwicker. Lawson does likewise.
24-20 Wildcats.
Really playing with 3 guards now. That's a push-off, isn't it?
Yep, Zwicker.
You see the flexibility of Calabria on the team now. When they come in with Williams, Calabria shifts down to the small forward spot, kind of like he played last year.
Second foul on Zwicker. 6:25 to go in the first half.
See, Kittles can take Okalaja on the dribble. He's not even trying to do it. Underneath, saved by the Wildcats, and a hold on Okalaja.
Near the conclusion of this game, we'll be selecting a genuine Chevrolet Most Valuable Player of the Game from each team. Chevrolet to date has contributed almost $5.5 million to scholarship funds of America's colleges and universities. Howard Brown goes out. Ebers returns. Cornegay also back in for Zeppi Penn. Ebers with 13 points here in the first half.
Jim, North Carolina's last game against the University of Virginia, they totally dominated, 57-32 on the boards. But they're getting beat today on the boards, and it's costing them a lot. Villanova getting some good offensive rebounds and stickbacks, making it one and done on the other end.
Ebers corner.
You almost are surprised when he misses it.
Exactly. He's 5 for 7 now from the field. McGinnis ball stripped at the last moment by Alvin Williams, reaching in there smartly and off North Carolina. I tell you, this is a really good matchup of backcourts today.
It really is, and one of the things McGinnis had to recognize there were the numbers. And he was really going 1 against 3. Not a good idea on his part, being with his team down 4 points.
A hold on McGinnis.
good offensive maneuver by Villanova that time. McGinnis knew that he was beaten. He was on Williams, who would be cutting underneath the basket for an easy one.
Just the 5th team foul, so 2 away from the 1-on-1. Gary Kittle's held to 2 points so far. And as we say it, he fires the 3.
Did you notice how he turned his body on that shot, Jim? It wasn't his normal square-up shot. He really favored that thing.
1 out of 5 from the field.
You know, sometimes when a guy has a groin pull or a bad ankle, it's almost better for him not to play because you get in some bad habits.
10 seconds on the shot clock. Carolina down 4.
McGinnis wants that reverse.
No call. Calabria. Okalaja over the back.
We're seeing a terrific job by Villanova blocking out. They just shielded North Carolina from any opportunity for a putback there at all.
That's his second. 4:45 to go first half. Villanova trying to beat North Carolina for the 2nd time in the season. No non-conference opponent of the Tar Heels during the Dean Smith era has ever accomplished that.
And a lot of times when they've had those 2 matchups, one of the teams going on to win a national crown or so.
Yeah, Indiana, right here.
Right here. Indiana back in '81 with Isaiah Thomas lost that at Chapel Hill and then came back and beat North Carolina in the championship game right here in this arena.
In fact, this is North Carolina's first game at the Spectrum since playing in that championship game in 1981 against Indiana.
Certainly never forget that game because that was the day that President Ronald Reagan was shot.
Yeah.
The game was almost canceled. I remember arriving on the scene, Jim, and hearing about President Reagan's the shooting, and they were decided to play the consolation game. Virginia played in that ball game against LSU.
Yep.
And they weren't sure whether they were going to play the championship game or not. And a decision was made by the tournament committee, not by television, not by anybody else, that if President Reagan was out of danger at a certain period of time, that they would play the game. Otherwise, it would have been canceled. It was quite a day in a lot of respects.
Celestin back in the lineup for Villanova. Antoine Jamison
pulled the string on that one. Not a good follow-through. It's the only area of the game that Jamison not really playing well, shooting only 57% from the line. But the way Jamison is playing, he can have those big stretches. So if I were Villanova, I wouldn't feel that comfortable that he has not had the big half.
Yeah, just waiting for it to happen. He's their leading scorer and rebounder. He has only 1 point so far and 2 rebounds.
Boy, a lot of banging down inside Lawson and Zwicker. There they come again. Official under the basket, kind of aware of it. Down to 5 seconds.
Celestin driving on Williams, sets up Kittle's way too far. No, he tried to bank it home.
Boy, has Cornegay gotten his hands on a lot of balls. Now that one he couldn't control, but kept it alive on the offensive glass.
So, North Carolina possession when we come back. We'll call the scores and highlights from today's basketball action coming up. Pennzoil at the half. Philadelphia 76er member and North Carolina man Jerry Stackhouse just sitting a few feet away from Dean Smith.
But you know what else? He's sitting only a few feet away from Phil Ford. Dean Smith, Jim, has had 5 NBA Rookies of the Year that he's coached, which is incredible. And of course, Stackhouse this year has a chance fighting Stoudemire for that spot.
Looking out for the Williams. They say the foul was outside.
Before the shot, yeah.
They got a chance this year. Yep. Talking about the Rookie of the Year.
Yep.
But you know, you look at the 76ers. How are they doing? 7:30. And I said, wait a minute, not the tip time. The record is 7:30.
Being coached by John Lucas, guy with an ACC heritage and background from nearby Durham, North Carolina. That's where John grew up.
John Lucas, in fact, consulted Kerry Kittles, a phone call from Kerry about whether or not he should come out with a year to go at Villanova. And I think Lucas explained to him about the way that the NBA schedule is. And, you know, you only get this chance to go through college one time in your life. And he really wrestled with that decision. But Lucas, one of those who counseled Kerry Kittles, who's come back to try to win a national championship ring.
Nice double here. Going to have to go up through the double. And there you see Calabria threw it off of Lawson's legs. You know, when a team doubles as nicely as Villanova did right there, upon the catch, you have to already have made up your mind about a pass. You can't catch it, hold it, then start looking. Good backdoor cut by Calabria.
Zwicker, 10-footer.
His range.
Yep. All day. Well, he's made 4 of them.
He loves that little shot. About a 10-footer right on the wing. North Carolina back in their man-to-man. Okalaja on Kittles. Oh, how about that quickness?
Yeah.
Got
Ball tipped away and then saved smartly after the ball was knocked loose. Back to another Villanova player. 7 on the shot clock. Celestin over the back, Cornegay.
Yeah, that's about the first time today that Cornegay committed that foul. He's been banging North Carolina in there, and really he and Lawson are considerably stronger than Jamison and Okalaja. You get the feeling in this game, Jim, that Villanova in control all the time, and then all of a sudden you look up at the scoreboard and it's a 3-point, 4-point game. Very surprising.
No question about it. It feels more like a 10. It should be like a 10-point lead.
Right. Now with Zwicker out of the game, North Carolina even smaller.
Okalaja, 1-1. Biggest off the bench with the rebound. 2:10 to go first half. 26-23 Nova.
Biggest needs to get inside now and get on an offensive glass.
Kittles, like the Kerry Kittles we know, suspended in air for a moment. Banks at home. He has 4.
First time we've seen him explode today.
McInnes pull up.
That's his favorite shot.
Rebound Lawson, outlet quickly Kittles. Celestin on a wing, Kittles puts it up. He'll shoot 2.
You know, you almost get the feeling, Jim, that Kittles is afraid to really extend himself, worrying about maybe pulling that groin further, and we saw him just have a natural explosion on that play.
Now, he pulled it 10 days ago in a practice, and then in a game against West Virginia, that very thing happened, Billy.
Yep.
1 minute into the game, and he re-aggravated it. So Kittles to the line for a couple.
Led the Big East in scoring last year in conference games, and right behind Abrams in regard to the total season. But that game certainly dropped his scoring average down, didn't it, Jim, with that getting in and not being able to
factor that as a game played, even though on 1 minute of action.
Because he was up over 20 points a game.
You know, one thing he had last year, Billy, that remarkable season you were mentioning, he led the Big East in field goal percentage.
And scoring. And
I mean, think about the shots he was taking to lead the conference in field goal percentage.
Of course, we're going to Connecticut tomorrow, and we'll never forget that performance he had up there last year. The best I saw all year long, considering the magnitude of the game. You might want to counter Ed O'Bannon in the final.
Yeah, but I tell you, I was trying to think of a better one. That was outstanding. Okalaja, 3-pointer.
Okalaja will shoot that 3-point shot. This year, he's shooting over 50% from 3.
1:12 to go in the half. Only a 2-point Wildcat lead. Kittles coming on, left hand.
Starting to explode. There's that reverse. McInnes' favorite shot.
Lawson rejects. Kittles to the hole. +1.
I think they're going to call it a draw.
Kittles. But they'll count the basket. Yes, the basket counts.
Well, Kittles this year took it almost coast to coast in a last-second win over Miami. And here you can see what he can do when he opens up. Excellent shot and a layup. He's going to sit down.
That's his second, so they'll sit him down with 50 seconds to go in the half. And
that was a huge block by Lawson down on the other end because McGinnis had his favorite type of shot. One of those 4-point swings.
Calabria at the line, double bonus, he'll shoot 2. Way off the mark. From Beaver Falls, Pennsylvania, out in the Pittsburgh side of the state, but he lived there in the Philadelphia area for 6 years during his adolescence.
Okay, down. They're going to have to give up the possession. About 14 seconds difference on the clock. And you can see Steve Lappas saying hold it till about 10 and then go on the attack. North Carolina hearing the coach's instructions, instead of going out and pressuring the ball, they're just staying back in. I always think it's good, unless you're just going to absolutely hold it to the end, to have some kind of movement so the other team doesn't get that kind of rest.
Williams looking, 5 on the clock. Inside, Zeppi Penn, fade away.
Well, that's as good an execution as you can ask for.
Gives them a 7-point lead. Carolina now for the last shot of the half. Calabria, Williams on him. Calabria driving, splits the defenders, and a foul called on Alvin Williams with 1.9 seconds remaining in the half.
Well, there's the experienced player realizing the clock is winding down, just tries to draw anything. He's getting 2 shots for that. I thought he was passing the ball.
Well, they're in the double bonus.
Bonus, okay.
So Calabria back to the line. He just made 1 of 2 a moment ago. He was a freshman, was Dante, on the '93 national championship team, and played, in fact, for that team, was part of the rotation.
You know, it's kind of interesting. You see him shoot his 3-point shot, he stays right with it. And on the foul line, where he's just shooting 70%, he didn't stay with the shot at all. Dropped his hands immediately on the release.
1.9. Let's see what Nova can do. Well, Williams will launch it. Long range. Oh, wow, that looked like it had a chance.
At the angle.
Well, that's the end of the first half, with Villanova leading North Carolina 34-28. Pat O'Brien will be along from New York with Pennzoil at the half after this message and a word from your local station.
Bad looking shot. Towns the rebound. And once again, they failed to take the ball inside to Eric Dampier. Arkansas up by 8. Mississippi State a game behind Alabama in the SEC West, but only a half game ahead of Arkansas. And again, working the shot clock. It's down to 6. Bradley, back rim. Wilson kept it alive, and Bradley claims it. Great day.
All right, so that's a taste of that ball game with Arkansas up 72-64. We'll keep our eye on that one for you. Let's fire up the college basketball scoreboard. A lot going on in the Atlantic 10. Massachusetts survived a little bit of a scare from Duquesne. 93-89 was the final. Marcus Camby did not play. He might play on Tuesday against Pittsburgh. Kansas and Colorado in a Big 8 contest there at the half. 41-37 the score there. And Georgetown all over Seton Hall this afternoon. 82-62 was the final there. We'll be back with more as At the Half rolls on from New York City and points elsewhere right after this. Stay with us.
So what'd you get?
99-cent Whopper.
Now, why can't you just say you got a Whopper?
Half CBS Sports invites our computer-friendly college hoop fans to check out our internet site for the road to the Final Four on CBS Eye on the Net at www.cbs.com. And be nice. Tomorrow on the CBS Network, we bring you the college basketball wheel, rotating coverage of multiple games, taking you to all the exciting action. Here it is, another Sunday, and you're looking for something exciting to do. You've already read the paper, so why not check out what's on television? Boom! No football. The pickings are slim. Very slim. So how about taking a ride on our college basketball wheel? We start at noon Eastern with our national game, Penn State at Michigan, where the Nittany Lions, off to the best start ever, hope to remain one of the 3 undefeated teams in the country. While the Wolverines, 13-4 in the year, are confident they can continue their 14-game winning streak at home.
We feel real confidence playing at home. And when they come to Ann Arbor to play, we just got to step up and play hard.
And then in wheel action, you'll see Syracuse at Connecticut tip off at 2:05. The Orangemen rely on the powerful in-the-paint play of senior John Wallace. But the Huskies have their own big man, and Ray Allen, second leading scorer in the Big East and candidate for National Player of the Year.
He's almost unstoppable. I think when you play Connecticut, you're playing one of the top 2 or 3 teams in the country.
And our wheel rounds out with Missouri and Iowa State at 3:05 Eastern. The Tigers have the Cyclones' number, winning 5 of the last 6 meetings. But Iowa State is at home, and they plan to utilize their potent inside-outside attack. The wheel, guaranteed fun for the whole family. Joining me in the studio to help guide you through all the action will be John Calipari, head coach of the #1 ranked and undefeated UMass Minutemen. All begins tomorrow at 12 noon. Jim and Billy will be back with the second half after a message and a word from your local station. Thanks for watching Pennzoil at the Half. Enjoy the second half here on CBS.
Pennzoil at the Half was sponsored by Pennzoil. For more engine miles, Pennzoil works like liquid ball bearings.
In searching for a luxury performance sedan, Michael Young tested the Oldsmobile LSS against 3 of the fastest.
Coverage of the road to the Final Four is sponsored by Oldsmobile, official car for NCAA championships. Pert Plus shampoo and conditioner, great hair, no fuss. And by State Farm Insurance. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
All right, welcome back to the Spectrum. Villanova leading North Carolina by 6. And Billy, let's go to the coach's edge here before the second half gets started.
Okay, Jim, we'll take a look at what Villanova is trying to do for Kerry Kittles, among others. We'll see Kittles right here. Ball on this side, so you got a little 2-man game. But here you have some screens being set up. Kittles is going to take the route here. Ball comes off, hits Kittles. An opportunity for him to score. Excellent job by the coach's edge here, giving the people an opportunity to see how you get off a good shot. Now you take a look and see how the play is. Now here we have the ball again, little 2-man game. Kittles is going to set up here. We get the 2 screens coming inside. Ball's going to be rotated. Kittles gets the shot. So here's how it's put into play. There's the solid screen. Squares up, good shot.
Kittles really started to warm up there late in the half. Villanova is shooting 50% from the field. The only team to shoot 50% this year against the Tar Heels was Villanova the first time out. Both teams, well, mediocre from 3-point range, although Eric Ebers was outstanding, hitting 3 out of 5.
And Jim, that 50 percentile is an important number for North Carolina. Only 2 times North Carolina has had teams shoot under 50%. I'm talking about for the year, since Dean Smith has had this tremendous role at the University of North Carolina. So when they're shooting 36%, it means somebody's playing some strong D.
You know, field goal percentage defense for North Carolina this year, too. The best that Dean Smith has ever had. 37.9% is all they have allowed so far on this season. But Villanova shot 52% in Maui, and so far 50% in this game.
And you know what's amazing? That's North Carolina playing a lot of zone, holding people down to 36%. The guy I'm anxious to see in this second half, Kittles, whether he has picked up some confidence with his leg, and also Jamison, who really didn't get anything started coming off some of the sensational games that he's had coming into this one.
Jamison with 3 rebounds and 1 point in the first half.
Telegraphed the pass.
Yep. So North Carolina off the 8th turnover of the game. McGinnis with a quick 3.
McGinnis is a very dangerous shooter when he is moving directly to the basket, whether it's that flying one-hander or his jump shot. Shoots it much better when he's on the move than he does when he's standing still.
Cuts the lead in half. Kittles on the run.
See, he didn't explode by McGinnis on that drive.
Jamison with the rebound, but Kittles was there. Now Carolina defending. Takes it back, does McGinnis.
Kittles, the steal leader for Villanova. We talk about all the offensive things he does.
Jamison fouled by Lawson. So Antoine Jamison will shoot a couple. He has had 3 straight games with double-figure points and rebounds. In fact, he's been double-figure points in every game at Carolina except for his first game. Averaging 16 points, 10 rebounds.
The blowout last week against Clemson, even though he was injured, 17 points, 10 rebounds. Really has been solid. He really stepped up in the Diet Pepsi Open down in Charlotte early in the season, where he was the MVP as a freshman. It was sensational in the 2 games against Tulane and Stanford.
Look at the pace he has set so far in his freshman season compared to other Carolina players through the years.
I will say this, however, that Jamison has to do more as a freshman statistically than they did, because they came upon some excellent teams when they stepped in.
Cornegay is out of the lineup. Biggis has replaced him at Villanova. Cornegay was whistled for that last foul, his 3rd.
Evers had a chance to turn the corner with a dribble. Was Vicker and Dawson really putting the bodies on each other inside. 2 7-footers.
Evers blocked by Carter. Villanova ball, but 7 on the shot clock.
Jim, this is an interesting matchup with the 2 7-footers out there, 1 for Villanova, 1 for North Carolina, but they're not playing each other on this end of the floor. It's Lawson with Vicker, and that puts Jamison on Biggis. Zone out of bounds.
Pass deflected by McInnes to set up the steal. Calabria to the trailer. Carter.
Can he get up in the air or not? And you know, I pointed out in the first half, there are certain guys that really don't know how high they can jump. They just go in and jump to whatever they need. Carter being one of them. Trying to hit the low post.
Biggis with 4 players around him. Quick passing sets up Evers with a 3. Kittle's got it to him quickly in the corner.
He really did, Jim. That's a good call there, because that was a very unselfish move.
Jamison with a dunk off the assist from McInnes.
And Williams looks around and saying, hey, what's going on here? Nobody's supposed to be that wide open.
37-35 Wildcats. Shot almost tipped in by Lawson. They got another chance.
How about that dribbling?
Boy, did he shake off McInnes.
Brought it back with that left hand. McInnes wants a piece of him now.
Alvin Williams with 7 points and 5 assists. Jamison, good hands that time.
That's what that young man does as well as anybody I've seen come into college basketball in a while. He is so efficient and so quick off the floor. In that game where they beat Maryland, when Calabria threw the ball up in the air, there was just tenths of a second in time to catch and put the shot away, and he did it anyhow.
They had 31 in that game, including that game winner. The great hands.
Somebody's got to be open here.
Lawson still will take the challenge, and he'll shoot 1.
That was a sensational play. 3 men on Lawson, still got it off. Lapis screaming at him, saying, be tough. This is some play here. He's got 3 defenders on him and still manages to get up and through.
Jamison whistled for his first. You mentioned this was a game set up for Rasheed Wallace to get his home game, as Dean Smith attempts to do for all of his players, but at one time it looked like Wallace and Lawson both would be coming to Villanova. Wallace, in fact, made a verbal commitment. And then changed his mind, went to Carolina. And Lawson, for a moment, was vacillating then about going to Villanova or Virginia before Lapis had to go back, re-recruit him again.
That's one of those calls the coach doesn't want to hear. He thinks he's got 2 great ones for the middle, and then 1 phone call almost ended up with 0.
Zwicker saw Cook. Not soft enough. Evers coming off a screen.
Carter having a good second half so far. Very aggressive.
He has 7 rebounds. Calabria gave it up last moment. McInnes, second time in the half from that spot.
We're seeing both teams being very unselfish. Calabria probably could have put up the jumper there, but saw a teammate with a better shot.
12 for McInnes. Back to a 2-point Nova lead.
North Carolina really backing her man-to-man down in tight now. And there's that banging, finally paid off for Villanova by still moving. Zwicker got picked up for the foul. Jim, we talked about history potentially being made. North Carolina asking to say 2 guys coming out. They're tired.
Timeout on the floor. Villanova, 42-40.
Teams and brought back a little history before we went to the break. I was thinking about that. Right on this floor, the last team that went undefeated in college basketball won the last game that particular year right here on this floor, the University of Indiana.
1976. Yeah.
It's been a long time, isn't it? Amazing.
Wow. 20-year anniversary, Billy.
Who wins this race?
Well, Calabria.
McInnes open
to get there. McInnes. Boy, last minute gives it up.
Travel.
The 3 would have given Carolina the lead.
For those people who did not see the Maryland-Carolina ending, actually Calabria had a better chance on this one to get the ball back up than he did on that one. Just threw it up towards the rim. And Jamison was able to put it away. I think there was maybe 1 pass too many on that break. What do you think, Jim?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. McInnes had a shot that would have been good enough.
Evers off Biggis. Now at halftime we showed you some of this game, Mississippi State Arkansas, and Arkansas beats the Bulldogs by 12.
I'll tell you, the thing that you notice in that particular league every time I turn on the TV midweek, and that is Kentucky is destroying anything that's in their wake right now. And I mean, they just look so good. Now, Arkansas, Mississippi State, 2 teams that you could see in an NCAA tournament. But the way Kentucky's playing people down there, it looks like they're not even in the same league.
I think Mississippi State's obviously in a slump right now, but a little disappointment on the season.
Yep. Made a nice run last year, and of course, even in the NCAA tournament.
Made the Sweet 16.
Yep.
For UCLA, national champions they would be. Knocked them out. 7 on the clock.
7 on the clock, the ball in the hands of the wrong guy right here at that time.
Zwicker got it off in time. Never touched the rim. Shot clock violation.
One of the things that a team has got to do when it gets down the 10-second mark is get the ball in the hands of somebody that can make a play. There you had Okalaja and Zwicker ending up with the ball in the last 8 seconds. Neither one accustomed to it, and obviously didn't pay off.
Inside to Lawson.
Nice help by Jamison.
Yep, he came over to aid Zwicker. Calabria, here's his shot. Zwicker ties the game at 42.
And there he is at that little 10-foot spot. We said this in the Texas game. When a man penetrates, you would think Zwicker would move closer to the basket to put it away. And as we mentioned in the first half, Jim, you look up the scoreboard, you think Villanova's in control, and here we have a tie game.
Williams on the wing. Nova not shooting well in the second half, only 3 of 11.
But I thought Williams did the right thing. He did his good step in as he caught that ball. He had the perfect momentum going towards it and just didn't hit.
Vince Carter comes back in for Zwicker. Biggis out and Cornegay in for Villanova. Carolina has led only 1 time in this game at 12-11. They'll have a chance on this possession to lead for a second time.
Cornegay got in no man's land there defensively because Jamison had an opportunity to either go for the lob. Cornegay tried to stop the lob. Not enough room behind him. He's going to sit.
That's number 4. He came right back into the game and collected number 4 on the first trip down the floor.
That really hurt Steve Lapis because Cornegay was doing the job inside with his power. Really thought Carter missed Jamison that time with a punch inside.
McInnes. Rebound out to Williams. Foul called.
Going to be on Carter, Jim.
Vince Carter.
You know, I think about these two teams. They've played some memorable matchups. North Carolina won the national championship in '82. In the Eastern Regional Final, Villanova was the team they beat. And then in '85, when Villanova won the national championship, North Carolina down in the southeastern region was the team that Rollie Massimino's club upset.
Pulled the reversal down in Birmingham. Evers, Durer.
And Carter saying, hey, you got to help me with the solid screens there.
Evers with 19. No one back to help initially.
And Carter showing some pride in his defense there because he knows he's got a big assignment. Stopping that jump shot of Evers.
Oh, Calabria just slipped on a spot on the floor. Wet spot.
Probably during that little timeout break, you know, somebody drops a drink. Big jump shot by Evers before, Jim. They really need him to step up here with Cornegay on the bench with the 4.
You know, tomorrow Penn State takes that undefeated record into Ann Arbor. That's going to be a tough spot for the Nittany Lions. You'll see it 12 o'clock Eastern time. Then we'll crank up the wheels. Syracuse at UConn. Game played in Kittles. There you go. That's a 2. Back up to 5.
Still dangerous at only about 75%.
47-42 Villanova. Okalaja drives baseline, sets up Shammond Williams. In traffic, Zeppi Penn comes down with it. Nova on a run.
And that was great defense by Lawson.
Kittles fouled in the lane by Calabria, I believe.
Shammond Williams really has a tremendous ability to go in and get a shot off against a bigger man. Lawson held his ground, and that set that up.
Television timeout. CBS Sports coverage will continue after this message and a word from your local station.
Welcome to Heathrow, Wilson. Is London what you expected? Not exactly, sir. How are we going to find our...
We've been talking about Villanova trying to become the first team ever to beat Dean Smith twice in the same season. Non-ACC team, that is. And, well, actually, that mark goes beyond Dean Smith and back to the start of the ACC back in the early 50s.
Yeah, Frank McGuire's era as well.
6 teams, or, yeah, 6 different squads have had a chance to accomplish that and beat Carolina 1 of 2, but couldn't pull off the double.
What you have down there, Missouri is the only team that's had a chance twice. Uh-oh, and there you see McInnes got hit in the eye on the way down for Kittles. Now, McInnes has missed a game this year. We saw him get hurt down at Texas. Sidelined him. And I think it's just one of those accidental things where...
Got an elbow.
The elbow came down.
A loose elbow in the eye. Kittles hits the jumper to raise the lead to 7, matching the largest lead of the game.
Calabria handled the ball. Nice job by Villanova to come out and double team. Change things up a little bit. Trying to break this thing open. Up 7. Every time they get at this point, it seems like Carolina whittles it back down on them.
Swicker. Oh.
Now they're going to call that goaltending.
Yeah.
Playing themselves in the lane, Rex.
Score the basket.
Score to 3 seconds.
Okay, we'll see the shot right here, and watch what happens. His elbow comes down. There's the shot going up. McGinnis just looking. Boom, he gets hit right, glance down on the side of the face. But coming back in the zone. Think about Evers.
McGinnis already back checking in at the scorer's table. Zeppi pin. Wow.
That's the second big shot he's made. Remember that clock was winding down in the first half, and he hit a big jumper.
That's a foul on Kittles. Say it, for all the things those Zeppi pin does for this team, can come in at almost any position. One of the most valuable 6 men in the entire country, wouldn't you say, Billy?
He really is, and it seems like he's been here for a number of years. Yeah. And there's a real gamble play. You know, up 7, play solid.
10 minutes to go, second half. Villanova 51-44.
Pretty good switch by Kittles that time. Calabria was wide open.
McGinnis slicing, dicing, and wild off the mark.
He wanted to foul, but I thought Williams played that solid. Here's your man, Penn, Jim. And one. There are 2 huge baskets from the bench. Williams, who did a great job defensively on the other end of the floor, and hits Penn. And as you said, Jim, he can play so many different positions. These are 3 big baskets he's had here so far today. 2 coming back to back. Got the perfect roll, didn't he?
Boy, I'll tell you, this is a great crowd here today, too, in Philadelphia. 54-44, 10-point lead, largest of the game.
This tight man-to-man, North Carolina has not been able to have any wide-open jump shots.
Zwicker in and out. Retrieves it, but Lawson bumped him with the body, and Zwicker's down.
That was kind of delayed reaction by Zwicker. A Mike Tyson shot to the head, and he finally felt it a round later.
Tyson, in fact, won his last bout right here at the Spectrum against Buster Mathis Jr.
I think Zwicker held up maybe better than Buster. I tell you, he took a shot. Now watch this delayed reaction right here. They jolts his head back. Oh, he goes to his knees and held his ground. And Jim, you're right about the crowd. They're really into it for this defensive stance by Villanova.
Calabria. Wow, what a shot.
And there was the perfect example of why I say Kittles is a long way from being 100%. He is an excellent defender. He just can't slide those feet. Calabria went right around him.
Calabria hits the deck.
Lawson put him down with some solid screens. So Lawson and Zwicker inside. Now that was a makeup.
They got Zwicker earlier. This time they call Lawson.
And here you see he goes right by Kittles and then makes a beautiful scoop shot.
Watch the ball, though. He actually goes above the window.
Boy, great angle there. Neat piece of camera work, huh?
Yeah. Great piece of playing, too. And Carolina with Calabria.
How many more comebacks do they have in them, Jim? This has been a 7, down to 2, up to 9, down to 4.
Okalaja is going to come back in for Zwicker.
And the other thing we've kind of overlooked, which used to be a big statement, all that Big East against ACC. When you start talking about tournament time, these kind of games have a lot to do with strength of schedule, strength of conference.
Helping out your fellow conference members. Lawson, when it comes time to picking up one of those last spots.
And you see the latest RPI index has the Atlantic Coast Conference surprisingly rated #1. Big East in at #3 behind the Big Ten. So I'd have to question that one, Jim.
Well, you got 5 Big East teams in the top 24. Jamison +1.
There's that quick putback. North Carolina in a game down at Georgia Tech was in a situation very similar to this. Tech would get the lead, and Carolina pulled back a little bit, and they almost pulled it off at the end.
So Jamison draws the third foul on Lawson. 3 on Lawson, 4 on Cornegay.
But you know, considering the point in time in the game, Zeppy Penn in there with his quickness against this smaller North Carolina team may be a better matchup. So it doesn't really hurt at this point having Cornegay on the bench with 4.
North Carolina has only made 2 of its last 9 free throws. 8-point lead, Villanova.
McDonald's presents future Olympic hopefuls, Carlos Tapia Ruano.
Second half numbers impressive. Ebers with 19. He's been on fire all day. It's an 8-point Villanova lead with 7:53 remaining.
Jim, how'd this game start? 7-0? Isn't that what?
Exactly.
Villanova had 7-0, so we're right back about where they were at that point. You know, one of the things, too, Jim, that you mentioned talking to Steve Lapis yesterday where he was kind of concerned. Everybody saying, what's wrong with Villanova? Well, in '85, when they won the national championship, they started 7-0. This team started 7-0. And as you pointed out, they've only lost 3 games this year. I don't think anything's wrong with it.
Everyone wants to know. He says, you know, he's concerned about it because he says he's not happy with the way we're playing. He gave him a C+ grade on the season, but he said at the same time, I don't like the way the kids are feeling about themselves. You know, we are 13-3. Alvin Williams long. Williams pulls it down.
He can get a better shot than that.
So fine balance, trying to deal with the psyche of a team. McInnes. And a quick possession comes up empty. Kittle's running. Williams laying it in. 9 for Alvin Williams off the assist from Kittles.
You know, McInnes taking that quick jumper, nobody in position to rebound. When you do that, North Carolina really taking some bad shots here, in my opinion. Still saw a lot of time on this clock.
2 quick empty trips.
And not only does it make the percentage of making the shot tougher, but since your teammates are not anticipating the shot, they're not in position to rebound, so the percentages are really cut down of your chance to get it back if you do miss. And then you give up the fast break opportunity. So really 2 questionable shots. Kittle's tying his shoe down in front of us. Williams taking a few seconds off the clock. Now, the other thing about North Carolina, with this short bench that they have, they're not going to have a lot of ability to come off the bench with somebody to spark them here.
Jamison to Calabria to Zwicker. There's a spark. And you have Calabria.
You have to think about stamina a little bit, too. They're not going to go out and chase anybody.
58-50, 6:25 remaining.
But the guy to me that's so dangerous this time of the game right now is Ebers.
How about Kittles?
Yeah. But, you know, just when you're making a comeback, you see him wandering around on the wing, waiting to hit one of those jumpers.
And he now gives him a new largest league figure of 11, 61-50. Calabria. Kick out, McInnes. And a turnover.
Great job by Kerry Kittles on defense. There was a wide open jumper. He went on the attack and showed that quickness. Made it very difficult for McInnes, and he had to make a bad play. This is a nice stretch by Villanova here, playing solid basketball.
Kittles. Back-to-back threes.
I love to see him squared up. Never early in the game, he was very tentative.
18 for Kerry Kittles. 14-point Nova lead.
North Carolina really has gotten out of sync here.
Yeah, a lot of quick shots, turnovers.
It's what it's like to play on the road.
Three-pointer. Zeppy Penn with the rebound.
Now you think, bury him with a 3 after penetrating inside. Calabria, without question, tried to run through Zeppy Penn. He's frustrated. Jimmy, you can see Steve Lapis, what he has done here at Villanova, just as he did at Manhattan. After being Raleigh Massimino's assistant here, took a program up there that hadn't won, put him in the NCAA tournament, and look at how things are moving here at Villanova now.
He did the same kind of magic at Manhattan.
Yep.
And now with a 14-point lead, looking to add to it. Alvin Williams.
Everything going down.
66-50. Calabria
trying to do that high arcing shot again. Steve Smith will have to go timeout here. His team has absolutely lost patience.
That looked like what Carolina's been experiencing on the offensive end. It's all come undone.
Well, I'm really surprised to see this. You don't see a North Carolina team just let it get completely away from them as it has. And it all goes back to those two quick jumpers, Jim, that were taken before anybody was ready.
Meanwhile, Kittles was knocking down 2 threes at the other end.
And getting these 17,000 people all excited.
Evers bounces it inside. Lawson back to Evers. Elijah with a strong board. Push off.
Kittles trying to fight through the screen. Going to have a little word with the referee, but without question, he was doing it.
Shammond Williams will come back in along with Jamison. Timeout on the floor. What a stretch for Villanova. Kerry Kittles with 18. Alvin Williams adding 16-point Nova advantage. In the state of Pennsylvania, eclipsing the previous mark, Villanova Georgetown back in 1989 here at the Spectrum. There's Mary Kittles up from New Orleans, Carrie's mom, who hosted the team back in December when Villanova played down in New Orleans against UNO. She cooked for about 50 Villanova members of the Villanova family. And there's Shammond Williams with a 3. She made her red beans and rice and other Cajun cooking, and they all had a great time. One of the highlights of the year, all the players were saying yesterday.
Here you see North Carolina trying to trap in their scramble.
Calabria called on the foul, and that will put Villanova at the line for a 1-and-1.
Dean Smith has always been a team that employed a lot of trapping defenses, a lot of full court pressure. But with this team that does not have a lot of experience and certainly not a lot of depth, he's basically playing half court off a defense at a time.
1-and-1 for Evers.
If you're down 13, you've got to start doing something to change it defensively.
Villanova's athletic director, Gene DiFilippo, Coach Steve Lapis, and the entire Villanova basketball team wanted to pass along best wishes to one of their biggest fans, Jessica Falcone, a Villanova sophomore who's undergoing pre-bone marrow transplant treatment at Johns Hopkins. I know she's watching today. They all sent along their best wishes, and Jessica wanted you to know that our man Bob Fishman, our director, underwent that same process some 6 years ago. He's here and healthy, and we're glad to have him here too. Looking forward to your return to good health.
Here's that trapping defense, but Kittles recognized it pretty well. Got an experienced threesome out there in Evers, Williams, and Kittles.
The chase is on for Williams, doubled up.
Jim Kittles. And Jim, there is a case, again, something that will not show up on the stat sheet. Zeppy Penn stepped up into the hole to create a passing lane. Otherwise, the double team would have worked. Good, smart play on his part.
Calabria ball came free. Zeppy Penn has it. Kittles ahead. He called for it, but Villanova will slow it down with 2:22 remaining.
Maybe smart to spread North Carolina and make them run. These guys got to be a little tired. Well, you can't press without a lot of depth.
Timeout called by Villanova. Just a 20. Well, the lineup tonight on CBS, Dr. Quinn, Medicine Woman, followed by Touched by an Angel and Walker, Texas Ranger. You know, Billy, we've been talking about this double that Steve Lapis and the Wildcats are about to pull off. Indiana split with them back in that 81 season. Michigan in 93 had a chance if it won the national championship game to beat Dean Smith and the Tar Heels twice. Princeton back in the 60s. Missouri twice during the 80s. And Notre Dame also. The programs that had a chance, non-conference opponents of the Tar Heels, to beat them twice in the year and only could win one of two. Villanova on its way to a two-game sweep. Who knows? Maybe we'll see him a third time in March.
Well, there have been some conference teams that have beaten them 3 times in 1 year.
I remember when Georgia Tech did it.
Yep. They were the first non-Big Four school to do it.
It's a Carolina team that had 3 losses coming in. Evers. Kittles underneath. What a second half.
Yep, nobody there to help.
He's had 15 in this half. Williams rejected by Lawson. Alvin Williams.
And foul.
This is what they've been waiting for. They've been wanting this team to break out and have some fun.
Well, Lawson set it up with a great block on his end. He's a shot block leader for Villanova on the year. Kittles is going to sit down.
Steve Lapis has been talking to his troops about trying to enjoy and savor this season that could be a very special season for the Villanova program. He says the kids, the weight of all the expectations has made it difficult, even though they're 13-3, to really enjoy what they're doing. And this is, I'm sure, exactly what he was hoping to see.
Well, a tremendous confidence builder here, Jim, and you're in a league that almost every night out you've got a chance to get knocked off, and particularly up at the top where you've got Georgetown, Connecticut, Syracuse, all very, very difficult opponents. And they found out Seton Hall, you know, was capable like everybody else in the league of beating somebody. So this is a big confidence builder for this team.
Carter underneath to the line for 2. You know, Billy, it's January 20th. That's the date of Inauguration Day. And maybe for Villanova, this program that so many think might make it to the Final Four, maybe this is their day of coming out, starting something special.
Long way from now until...
This was the time last year where they really hit their stride. We had a game a year ago this week where they played Florida on the road, won on the last second shot, and then reeled off 11 straight wins.
You know, you think back to that game, Jim. They came in there very uncertain of themselves, and remember that last play. I mean, Florida was a team that had come off a great run in the NCAA tournament the year before. Yeah. And we're looking for some confidence and didn't get it that day, and Villanova did.
Brian Noon, number 15 in for Villanova. Kevin Cox, number 12. Matt Couture, former team manager, number 10 for Villanova, seeing action. Jamie Gregg, number 50. And Howard Brown, number 22.
Well, Couture has that one basket that he made this year, so you know who the kids on the sideline are rooting for.
They made a shot at the buzzer against Hofstra. They can kick it out to him. No, Cox puts it up instead, but rebounds his own miss. And a loose ball picked up by Ed Gett.
Well, he gets in the scorebook by creating a foul.
There he is, Matt Couture. 3 years he was the team manager.
You know, we see a number of team managers getting Indiana's got one, yeah.
Well, again tomorrow, big day of college basketball. Penn State undefeated on the year takes on Michigan and Ann Arbor, followed by Syracuse, UConn. We'll wheel it then to Iowa State, Missouri. Look forward to having you with us. We're on our way to Hartford for that UConn-Syracuse game.
Well, he's got a rebound and a foul. One more would give him a triple-double.
A triple single.
No, triple single, excuse me. Well, it'll be a Polish triple-double if he can get a triple single.
This game was tied at 42.
Would you give him a turnover? Would that count, Jim?
Yeah, whatever.
If I get
one more thing in the book.
All right,
9 seconds. Let's see.
All right. Let him just throw it away. Do something. Here he is. Here he goes. That's a shot. That's right.
There you go.
We got
That is triple single. Villanova outscores North Carolina 34-14 in the last 13 minutes and 45 seconds. Villanova wins by 20.